Let me tell you something quietly powerful about distance in relationships. We live in a world that celebrates closeness. Text back fast, share your feelings, define the relationship. Be open, be vulnerable, be available. And yet, some people pull away the moment things start to feel too real. They crave connection, but when it arrives, something inside them tightens. Maybe you've met someone like that. Maybe you've loved someone like that. Or maybe you are that someone. And here's the question that lingers beneath the surface. Why does intimacy feel comforting one moment and suffocating the next? Why would someone long for love, yet instinctively retreat when it's finally within reach? It's easy to label it as coldness, as fear of commitment, as emotional unavailability. But that's not the full story. Beneath that distance, there's an entire psychology unfolding, one rooted not in indifference, but in protection. See, for people with an avoidant attachment style, distance is not rejection, it's safety. It's the nervous system trying to maintain control in a space that feels unpredictable. Because attachment isn't just about love, it's about early wiring. It's about the invisible lessons we learned long before we had the language to explain them. Attachment theory, first developed by Bowlby and later expanded by Ainsworth, suggests that the way we bond as adults mirrors the emotional environment we experienced as children. And for someone with avoidant attachment, that environment often carried a subtle message. Your needs are too much, or handle it on your own. So they did. They learned to self-soothe, to downplay feelings, to rely on independence as a shield. And over time, independence didn't just become a strength, it became armor. Here's what's fascinating. Avoidantly attached individuals don't lack emotion. In fact, research shows they often experience just as much emotional intensity as anyone else. The difference is what they do with it. Instead of moving toward others in moments of stress, they move away. Instead of seeking reassurance, they double down on self-reliance. Not because they don't care, but because somewhere deep inside, needing someone feels dangerous. Intimacy activates vulnerability, and vulnerability, to someone who learned early that closeness equals disappointment, feels like stepping onto thin ice. So when a relationship starts getting deeper, something shifts. They might become quieter, busier, slightly more critical. They may focus on small flaws in their partner, not consciously trying to sabotage the connection, but unconsciously trying to regain emotional distance. It's a protective reflex. There's a concept in psychology called deactivating strategies. These are mental maneuvers avoidant individuals use to suppress attachment needs, convincing themselves they don't need anyone, minimizing the importance of the relationship, romanticizing past independence. It creates emotional space, and space feels safe. But here's the paradox. Beneath that instinct to pull away is still the human need for connection. Avoidant attachment isn't the absence of desire, it's the fear of dependence. They often want closeness deeply, but only if it doesn't threaten their autonomy. They want love without feeling consumed by it. And that internal tug of war can be exhausting. On the outside, they may appear calm, composed, self-sufficient. They might pride themselves on not being needy. They may genuinely believe they're just wired to be independent. But internally, there's often a quieter narrative running. Don't rely too much, don't expect too much, don't let anyone get close enough to hurt you. It's important to understand something crucial here. Avoidant attachment is not a character flaw, it's an adaptation. A survival strategy that once made perfect sense. If emotional closeness felt inconsistent or overwhelming growing up, creating distance was intelligent. It protected the heart. The problem is that what once protected can later isolate. In adult relationships, this pattern can create confusion. Partners may feel shut out. They may sense warmth one day and coolness the next. They might interpret space as lack of care. But for someone avoidant, space is often how they regulate. When emotions run high, their nervous system shifts into self-protection mode. Psychologists sometimes describe this as a high need for autonomy, combined with discomfort around dependency. Studies have shown that avoidantly attached individuals tend to suppress emotional expression during conflict and are more likely to disengage rather than escalate. It's not that they don't feel the conflict, it's that confrontation threatens stability, and stability matters deeply to them. Another layer to this psychology is vulnerability intolerance. Opening up means giving someone access to the parts of you that could be rejected. For someone with avoidant attachment, that risk feels amplified, so they might keep conversations surface level. They might deflect with humor. They might change the subject when things get too personal. It's not because they don't have depth. Often, they have incredible depth. They just guard it carefully. There's also something called emotional minimization. If a partner expresses hurt, the avoidant individual may unintentionally downplay it. Not to dismiss them, but because intense emotion feels overwhelming. They learned early to shrink emotions to survive, so they assume others should do the same. And yet, here's what people rarely talk about. Avoidant individuals often feel profound guilt. They may sense that they're disappointing someone, that they can't show up the way others need, that something is wrong with them. But instead of leaning in and talking about it, they retreat further, because retreating feels safer than failing. But healing is possible, and it begins with awareness. When someone with avoidant attachment starts recognizing their patterns, something powerful happens. They begin to see that their need for space doesn't have to cancel their capacity for closeness. That independence and intimacy are not enemies. It takes intentional work. Learning to tolerate discomfort when vulnerability arises. Practicing small moments of emotional openness. Staying present in conflict instead of shutting down. Gradually proving to their nervous system that closeness doesn't automatically equal loss of self. And here's something deeply reassuring. Avoidant attachment exists on a spectrum. It's not a fixed identity, it's a pattern, and patterns can shift. Research in adult attachment shows that secure relationships themselves can be corrective experiences. When someone consistently responds with patience, respect, and emotional steadiness, it slowly rewires expectations. Trust builds not in grand gestures, but in repeated safety. If you recognize yourself in this pattern, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You adapted. You became strong in ways that kept you safe. Your independence is real. Your resilience is real, but you deserve connection that doesn't feel threatening. You deserve closeness that expands you, not confines you. And if you love someone with avoidant attachment, understand that their distance is rarely about not caring. Often it's about caring so much that the fear of losing themselves becomes louder than the desire to lean in. Patience helps, clear communication helps, but most importantly, compassion helps. Because behind the calm exterior is often a heart that learned early not to need too much. The truth is, avoidant attachment isn't about rejecting love. It's about protecting the self. It's about maintaining control in spaces where vulnerability once felt unsafe. But control and connection don't have to compete forever. With awareness, therapy, secure experiences, and intentional growth, that guarded distance can soften. And when it does, something beautiful happens. The independence remains, but it's no longer armor. It becomes choice. The closeness no longer feels suffocating. It feels steady, safe, mutual. You can be self-sufficient and still allow someone to hold your hand. You can value space and still value partnership. You can protect yourself without isolating yourself. Because at the end of the day, attachment styles are not life sentences. They're starting points. And the psychology of avoidant attachment isn't a story about coldness. It's a story about learning, slowly and courageously, that connection doesn't have to cost you who you are. And maybe, just maybe, the bravest thing someone with avoidant attachment can do isn't pulling away. It's staying,